Hey y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Mogi Beth, and for those of y'all who are new here, I own a six-figure reselling business, which means that I sell women's clothing on Poshmark, eBay, Mercari, and Tradesy. But today's video is a little bit different. We are talking about YouTube for resellers. I know a lot of y'all obviously watch reseller content on YouTube, and maybe you've started a channel or you're thinking about whether or not you should start a channel. And so in this video, we're going to go over why you should start a channel, 5 reasons why, also why maybe you shouldn't start a channel. We're also going to go over a little bit of the YouTube algorithm, how it works, and then 6 tips on how to grow your YouTube channel quickly. And then finally, we're gonna end with resources and tools to help you grow as quickly as possible. And as we'll discuss later on in this video that you're watching right now probably will not perform well with the YouTube algorithm, but one way we can change that is by you giving this video a thumbs up and commenting down below, because even though this isn't a topic I usually cover, I thought it could really provide a lot of value and help to y'all, and I get this question all the time. So please do that. Thumbs up, comment down below. Okay, thanks. Let's jump into the video. Okay, so as some of y'all know, I spoke last weekend at PoshFest, which is Poshmark's annual conference, on a panel all about YouTube. I was on the panel with Becky Park, who has a really great YouTube channel, which if you don't already watch it, I'll link it down below. And it was moderated by Amanda Wise, who is also super brilliant. I'll link her stuff down below as well. But the panel went by so quick, and I felt like there was still so much more to say, and I know a lot of y'all weren't able to attend PoshFest, so I wanted to create this video. And I wanted to make sure I covered any questions that y'all had, so I went over to Instagram and asked, if you could ask me one question about YouTube, what would it be? And a lot of y'all submitted your questions, and I'm gonna cover most of them in this video. Okay, so let's get into it. So the very first question I think is so important to address, and I'm gonna go into a bunch of different reasons why I think this question really exhibits how I think about my reselling business, is why even start YouTube in the first place as a reseller? There are varying opinions on whether social media helps or just takes time away from your reselling business, and there's good arguments on both sides. But first, I'm gonna go over 5 reasons why I think it is useful potentially to have a YouTube channel as a reseller. The first one is perhaps the most obvious one, and the one I got the most amount of questions about, which is that you can actually make money on YouTube. Specifically, the question that I received most on Instagram was, how much do I make on YouTube? And I wanted to be super transparent about this, and so I'm gonna share with y'all how much I've made month to month this year over on YouTube, so that you can have something to gauge your expectations on. Back in January, we started out the year by making $475.97, and I'm just gonna slap up a graph here that shows you just over time how much we made. We increased a lot from January to February. In February, we made $958.91, so I was like, yeah, we're doing it! And then of course COVID came around. COVID affected all of our businesses in more ways than one. One being that companies were spending less on ads, so we made less on YouTube. In March and April, we made $595.49 and $563.76 respectively. So went down again. But we recovered back in May by making $1,037.99, and then in June we made $895.40, and things actually really started to pick up in July, which is great, because in July we made $1,757.37. So that was a really great month for us. And then in August, we actually decided to go from doing 2 videos a week to 1. We really didn't know what that would look like from an AdSense perspective, but it actually wasn't that bad. We made $1,586, and I don't have the ad revenue from September yet, but it's looking like it's going to be actually really strong with around $1,900. So let me know in the comments down below, was that more or less than you thought I was making on YouTube? Because I know I do see some comments that say we make all of our money on YouTube, which If that was the case, we would be not doing too hot. But YouTube, unlike Instagram, I actually do make money from creating content on here. And there are other ways, of course, to make money on YouTube as well. You can do sponsored videos, which can be very lucrative. I've done one of those before, and in the future, when I have more time to give to the content creation side of things, that's definitely something that I'll explore. And then of course, affiliate marketing can be lucrative as well, and that's basically whenever you recommend a product or a course or whatever it may be, you have an affiliate link in your description, and then people click on it and you get a kickback. I'm actually really happy with the growth that we've had this year, and I feel pretty confident that it's just only going to continue to grow into next year, and could actually become a viable income in and of itself next year or beyond. So definitely something to consider and think about, but it definitely does not happen overnight. Okay, so if I'm not swimming in internet money, why should I be on YouTube? And I think the next 4 tips are really important for resellers specifically, and I hope that y'all pay attention and keep watching, because this is really how to start thinking strategically about your reselling business. So the second one is that, of course, and this is probably one of the biggest arguments for having a YouTube channel or having any kind of social media presence, is that you will generate more sales in your Poshmark closet. It's impossible for me to calculate how often that happens and how much of my audience is actually converting into a paying customer. I do get comments every once in a while from y'all saying like, hey, I found you through YouTube, and I do appreciate that, but I don't think that's a strong enough indicator for me to really have an understanding of how much that conversion is happening. Because of course there are people who buy from my Poshmark closet who don't leave those comments, and those comments do happen somewhat inconsistently. So I can't tell you exactly how much money I'm making from an increase in sales from YouTube, but theoretically I want to explain why I think this is important. There are basically 3 metrics that determine your monthly sales. The first is the active listings that you have. The second is your average sales price, and the third is your sell-through rate. And the sell-through rate just means the percentage of how much you sell within your closet on any given month. Okay, so these are the 3 levers that you can change to make an impact on your sales. And there are different strategies that you can use to maneuver each one, but what I think YouTube is useful for is increasing your sell-through rate. And sell-through rate is difficult to improve, right? Because one of the ways in which you can improve your sell-through rate is driving traffic to your Poshmark closet. If you know me, you know I really don't believe that through community sharing or following people or leaving comments on Poshmark, you're really gonna generate any meaningful traffic to your closet from potential customers. However, I think if you can create a brand, if you can create a platform, if you can create some kind of audience or following who care about what you have to say, or that you can really provide value to, then they are going to naturally be curious what you do, what you're up to, check out your Poshmark closet. And also, if you're really providing value to them, then they're going to be more inclined to want to shop with you. So I think by creating value on your YouTube channel, you can really make an impact on your sell-through rate. And it's, in my mind, one of the most effective, although laborious and time-consuming strategies to implement. There's a lot to be said for value creation, branding, indirect marketing in general, and these are all topics I'd love to dive into deeper one day, because I do have a degree in marketing, but I won't today. I'll leave that to the side. But I do really believe that you can make an impact on your Poshmark sales by providing value here on YouTube. Okay, so the third reason to create a YouTube channel, and this is one I actually feel pretty passionately about right now, is that it gives you more control over your business. And what do I mean by that? Okay, so let me break this down. The reason that us resellers use platforms like Poshmark, eBay, Depop, Kizn, or what have you, instead of just selling through PayPal or selling on our own website, is because we basically exchange the fee, the 10 to 20%, for the user base that is on these platforms. These platforms are driving traffic to their platform, and we're providing the product that they're buying. And so Poshmark has 50 million users. eBay has 182 million users worldwide. This is what we're paying for essentially when we're using these platforms. And that 20%, especially on Poshmark, is a steep fee. But more than that, being on these platforms comes with inherent risk. Being totally dependent on any one company's platform and user base means that you are essentially beholden to whatever seller policies that they want to roll out. And we saw this recently with ThredUp. This was the most recent controversy over on Instagram, is that ThredUp decided to drastically change their pricing policy, and they rolled it out overnight, and there's a whole drama. They rolled it back, but they are going to eventually roll it out again and give us warning. But it was such a good example of the fact that these are businesses that we rely on so much more than they rely on us, at least any one of us individually. And so if you're familiar with the SWOT analysis, it's a strategic business tool that basically you can break it down by going over the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, or threats of any one business or any one industry. And when it comes to the reselling industry, this is a pretty major threat to all of us, is that all of these companies could change on any given whim. Can change their selling policies, can change their fee structure, can change their shipping policies, and we are somewhat, unless we have our own platform and unless we have our own website, unless we have some kind of alternative, we're kind of at their mercy. And that's what creating a YouTube channel, that's what creating a following, an audience, or a group of people who know about you, who care about you, who get value from you, gives you that insurance policy that at the very least, if things were to go south, you'd be okay. You'd be able to start a website. You'd be able to do something. And so that's how I really do think about it, is that if you are going to be a reseller, especially full-time, or you're gonna really rely on this income in any which way, I think it's a good idea to start thinking about what you would need to do in order to take more control of your business. And what can I do in order to ensure that if any one of these platforms change, I'd still be okay. And while diversifying different platforms, I think is a really good idea, and I have a video where I go over all the different platforms and the pros and cons of each that I'll link up on the screen. The only real way to have total control over your business, over the seller policies, the shipping policies, the customer service policies, is by having your own platform, by having your own website. And I don't have that, so I'm just saying this theoretically, but I always just know that if I were to make that move, I potentially could do so. But I just want to get you to start thinking about, especially the SWOT analysis. What are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of your reselling business? And speaking of opportunities, that is actually reason number 4 why I think it's potentially a good idea to start a YouTube channel as a reseller. Currently, I really do believe, and we all see it happening, reselling is becoming mainstream. When I first started, no one really knew what Poshmark was, or Tradesy, or Mercari. Of course, eBay was in the ether, but reselling was definitely not mainstream. And now more and more people are buying secondhand online, and more people are selling secondhand online. And y'all, it's not done growing. This is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger over the next few years, if not the next decade. And with that comes a lot of opportunities. And so if you're creating content for resellers on YouTube, you're opening up the world of possibilities of different things that you could pursue, or different people that could reach out to you. I mean, for instance, I didn't even apply to speak at Posh Fest. They reached out to me. Well, actually I did apply last year and I got rejected, but I didn't apply this year, and they reached out to me because I had grown this YouTube channel. That's an opportunity that just came to me because I have been developing and working on creating value over here. So if you think this niche is too saturated, I would really highly encourage you to think again. This really, in my mind, is only the beginning stages of what this industry is going to look like as more and more people flock to these reselling apps, not only to sell but also to buy. There's also a heightened demand for content on these topics. And so you see things like A&E producing a reality television series about this, and more media publications are writing about and showcasing different resellers. Okay, and then the very last reason I think potentially start a YouTube channel is perhaps the most important one, and that is meaningfulness, purpose, community, connection. Especially when you're a full-time reseller, it's exciting and it's very motivating to make more money month after month, but if it's only about money, it just becomes somewhat meaningless over time. It like really loses its sense of purpose. I personally derive a lot of joy and meaning from this YouTube channel, and you know, getting to connect with y'all means a lot to me. And so I want to thank y'all for being here and express my gratitude, but also, you know, suggest that especially if you're reselling full-time, it can be really lonely, and having a community and having a place where you get to share what's going on with your day, it really makes a big difference. So that alone, for a lot of us, is a good enough reason to start a YouTube channel. However, I do want to say that having a YouTube channel is not easy, and it's not for everyone. And you 100,000,000% do not need a YouTube channel in order to have a successful reselling business. By no means. And in fact, you can make a really strong argument that having a YouTube channel will hinder your growth, especially in the beginning of your reselling business, because when you're a solopreneur, meaning you are the only one in your business doing anything, time is so essential, and YouTube does take up a good amount of time. Every hour that you spend on YouTube, you're taking an hour away from listing new inventory on your Poshmark closet. And so Matt's actually like really adamant in the other camp, whereas I think sometimes it's a really good idea to have a YouTube channel. He rarely thinks it's a good idea. And so that's why I planned this video myself. But I just want you to, if a YouTube channel is not sound appealing to you, don't do it. You don't need to do it. And in fact, you can really grow your reselling business really well without a YouTube channel, and you'll probably grow faster than I did, just because my attention was, you know, between both things. Okay, so now that we've gone over why you should or shouldn't start a YouTube channel, I want to go over how to grow your YouTube channel quickly. There's of course so much to cover with this topic. I'm definitely not going to cover everything, but I want to include 6 tips that I think are super important, especially for resellers, in order to grow as effectively and quickly as possible over on YouTube, so you can get that money and you can start achieving your goals. But before we dive in, we need to go over a few different YouTube metrics so that we're on the same page when it comes to how the algorithm works. Okay, so unlike other platforms, YouTube actually gives you a ton of analytics, which is so great. It can both be overwhelming and incredibly helpful depending on how much you know. But 3 things that I think are really important to understand what they are is impressions, which is how many times your thumbnails were shown to potential viewers, click-through rate, which is how often a potential viewer watched your video after seeing an impression, and then average view duration, which is on average how long someone watched your video. So these 3 are really important because basically how YouTube works is they will reward the channels that get people to click on their videos and watch for the longest amount of time possible, because they want people to watch as many ads as possible. If your activity on YouTube leads to people watching more ads, YouTube's gonna reward you. But if your activity on YouTube causes people to leave YouTube or click out of your videos quickly or move on with their life, then YouTube is going to shun you. And how they reward and shun you is whether they are showing your videos in the recommended area or in search, and YouTube has full control over that, and they get to control how often your videos receive impressions from potential viewers. And that's why the YouTube algorithm has such a massive impact on the success of your YouTube channel. And so it's really, really important to keep it in mind in how you develop and strategize your channel. Okay, so the tips for YouTube that I want to go over. The first one is pick your niche. And the more you can niche down and the more specific you can get, the better. If you're watching this, you're probably are going to create a reseller channel, I'm assuming. But even within the reselling world, on the panel that Becky and I were on, we were discussing the different ways that we have niched down even further for our channel. She is a part-time reseller. She's also a music teacher. So she's really filling a much different need than what I am filling, which I'm a full-time reseller. I own a business, I have employees, I have an office space. And so while we are talking about similar things, the way we're approaching this is very different. And I think that's really important to get across. Just because the topics you talk about don't have to be revolutionary, but the way you talk about them should come from your authentic experience and perspective. But more importantly, how it pertains to the YouTube algorithm is that YouTube will catalog your channel under specific topics. So my channel is cataloged under reseller, thrifting, how to make money online. And that's why this YouTube video in particular probably is not going to do very well, and why you guys should give this video a thumbs up and comment down below if you are enjoying it and getting any value from it. Because when you create videos outside of the cataloged categories that YouTube has prescribed you under, it's not going to recommend it to people. It's not going to have you show up and search, because that's not what YouTube knows you do successfully. And so it's really important to not only pick a niche, but then create content within that niche and create really compelling content and stay within that niche, which I'm going against my own advice here, but I typically try to follow this as much as possible. And again, a metric you can track to see, if you are staying within the niche that YouTube knows you for is your impression rate. Over time, anyways, as YouTube starts to understand what your channel is all about and catalogs you, it will start to recommend you more and more. And if you see that impression rate steadily go up, you're on the right path. Okay, the second tip is to understand your keywords and understand how keywords work. Just like when you're reselling, keywords are super, super important when it comes to the algorithm. I'll go over some tools that you can use later on in the video for your keyword research, but just to give you an idea of kind of how it works, some examples of keywords that this community searches for specifically are what sold and thrift with me, which probably doesn't come to any surprise to y'all. And so it's important to understand that so that you can reverse engineer content that you're creating in order to meet the demand of what your audience is looking for. And so not only do you want to create content around that, but you also want to make sure you include it in your title and in your description. Okay, so the third tip is to create really attractive thumbnails. So not only do you want YouTube to recommend your videos and you want to show up in search, but it's really also important that when you do have impressions, people are actually clicking on your videos. That's the click-through rate. And one major factor in whether people will do that or not is your thumbnails. I create all my thumbnails in Canva, which is a free tool and really, really helpful. I've saved different designs and templates for different types of videos. And so when I create a video, say a what sold, I only have to change a few different things, the colors, the little icons, etc. And I can just upload a new background, and that saves me a lot of time. But of course, I'm not saying that's necessarily the very best strategy to use. There are a bunch of different thumbnail strategies that you can implement and experiment with, but you really want to make sure that your thumbnails are something that people want to click on. And I think there is something to be said for maintaining some level of consistency so that when people see your thumbnail, they automatically know, oh, that's a Mogi Beth video, or oh, that's a whomever video. So make sure you're spending time creating attractive thumbnails. Okay, my fourth tip is to make sure to introduce yourself at the beginning of each video. I think a lot of people who watch YouTube videos, especially bigger YouTube channels, they see these YouTubers not really introduce themselves, just jump into the video and assume that the people watching know who they are, which works for larger YouTube channels, but for smaller ones like myself and probably like you, what you have to assume is that everyone who's watching your channel, has no idea who you are. And so you want to introduce yourself in a compelling way at the beginning of each and every video, and also introduce the concept of the video and why people should watch. The first 30 seconds of every YouTube video is so important. You don't want to waste that time. You don't want to ramble. You want to get straight to the point. You want to tell people who you are, why they should be there, and what they can expect from that video, because people will click off in the first 30 seconds very often. And so if you can prevent that from happening, the better. Okay, so the fifth tip is that preparation is key. And this really goes to the third metric that I was talking about, which is watch time or audience retention. Not only are people seeing your videos and clicking on them, but how long they're watching, because YouTube will really reward you if people stick around for the long haul. And the way to get people to continue to watch throughout the video is to be able to provide as much value as you can within that video. And the way to do that is to plan your videos ahead of time and prepare for them. When I first started my YouTube channel, I really was kind of just talking off the cuff. I was rambling. I was just sitting in front of a camera trying to come up with content off the top of my head. But once I started planning out each and every video, not only did my retention rate go up or my watch time go up, but also my editing time went down significantly, because I was saying fewer ums, I was rambling less, there was just less I had to cut out. So not only does it allow you to deliver way more value in a shorter amount of time, but it also cuts down on your editing time. And this is one of the biggest questions that I got over on Instagram, is how long does it take for you to create a video? And the answer to that is very much depends. It can take me anywhere from 2 hours to 8 hours. For Thrift With Me videos, I don't prepare at all. Obviously, I have no idea what's coming up, but the filming and editing time takes way longer. And then for basically any other video, I research and prepare and create a Google Doc with all of my talking points ahead of time. And so the preparation takes longer, but then shooting it takes less than an hour often, and then editing doesn't take longer than 1 to 2 hours. So it all really depends on the video, but what I'm going to say is, for the success of your videos, I think really preparation is important, or at least putting some thought into what you want to say and being very intentional with what you want to say at the very minimum. So my last tip, tip number 6, is a tip that literally applies to any endeavor you take on, and that is to be consistent. This is especially true for any algorithm dependent endeavor, because algorithms, when it comes to eBay, when it comes to YouTube, really favor those who are going to show up consistently. When I take even a week or 2 weeks off of YouTube, my videos and my channel tank. And that is actually partially why my channel's revenue suffered during COVID, is because I think I did take 1 or 2 weeks off, and it really did make an impact on my AdSense. And so YouTube was less likely to recommend my videos, less likely to have them show up in search. And so it's really important, if you're gonna do YouTube, commit to it and treat it like a job. Because while creating YouTube videos can be fun, if you're only doing it when it's fun, you're gonna be inconsistent, because there are some weeks where you don't wanna show up, where you just don't feel like it, you have a million things going on, whatever it is. On those weeks, my motto is, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing poorly, because it's better to show up with just an okay or below average video than not show up at all. And similarly, if showing up multiple times a week is unrealistic for you, don't do that. Create realistic expectations that you can show up around consistently. So if that's once a week, do that. If that's twice a month, do that. Just show up consistently, and so that YouTube's algorithm can understand when you're going to show up, and also so that your audience can depend on you and can develop a relationship with you. Because if you're only there, you know, randomly or spontaneously or when you feel like it, then why would they invest in you? So show consistently. Okay, the last thing I want to touch on really quickly are different resources and tools that you can use in order to grow your channel. So First, I'm going to cover the question that I get most often, which is what kind of software I use to edit my videos. When I'm on my Mac, I use iMovie, super easy to use. When I'm on my PC, I use DaVinci Resolve, which is also free software you can download that's really easy to use. I was planning on including some editing tips in this video, but seeing as this video is already very long, I decided instead to include 2 links down in the description below that I think do a really good job of going over the basics of editing on these 2 different softwares. And y'all, if this is the thing keeping you from starting a YouTube channel, I promise it's really not that hard, really easy to learn, and you really don't need that many editing techniques in order to edit a reselling video. Okay, the second question that I get often is what kind of cameras I use. So for all my thrifting videos, I use my iPhone. For most of my other videos, I use 2 different cameras. The one I'm filming on right now is my Sony a5100, which is oftentimes called a vlogging camera, but works well for my purposes. And then I also have a Canon DSLR. It's a Canon 77D that also is really good for shooting videos on as well. But really, y'all, you do not need to spend hundreds of dollars on a camera if you're starting a YouTube channel. Do not spend money on a YouTube channel until you are making money on YouTube. At least that's my advice. The beautiful thing about YouTube, like Poshmark, is that there is no capital requirement in order to get started. There are low barriers to entry. You don't need to spend money to make money. And so definitely take advantage of that. Use your iPhone, use your smartphone, use whatever you have in order to create your videos. I promise it's good enough, especially for this community. We aren't expecting like super crazy production value or anything like that. Okay, so earlier I talked about the importance of keyword research, so I want to share with y'all a few different tools and resources that you can tap into in order to do your keyword research. The 3 that I would recommend checking out, and I use all 3 and I think they're all really useful, is TubeBuddy, vidIQ, and Ahrefs, and I'll link them down below in the description so that you don't have to write them down. But I think they are really, really helpful in understanding what people are searching for when they're searching for reseller related content. And if you are committed to creating a YouTube channel and you want to see it grow successfully, I would highly recommend starting to follow some people here on YouTube who are already experts in this space. So some channels that I really like to watch are Vanessa Lau, Sunny Lenarduzzi, Catherine Manning, Think Media, and again the Ahrefs YouTube channel I think is really helpful as well. So alright, I hope y'all found this video helpful. I hope it was valuable to you in some way. Again, in order to help out this video and prevent it from tanking in the YouTube algorithm, please give it a thumbs up and comment down below. I really appreciate it. And if you want to even recommend this video to a friend, that would mean the world to me. Again, I just want to stress that if you don't want to start a YouTube channel, you don't need a YouTube channel to be a successful reseller at all. I promise y'all, you really don't. There are so many people who are kicking butt at reselling without any social media following at all. But if it is something that you're interested in, I hope this video provided some value to you. All right, well, I will see y'all in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Love y'all. Bye. Ooh, you want to help that YouTube algorithm? Check out my other YouTube videos up on the screen, and give this video again a thumbs up. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can either do that down below or by clicking up on the logo up above my head. Thanks so much, y'all. See you on the next one. Okay, bye.